Welcome to the Embodied Union podcast. I'm Charlie.
I'm Lindsay.
And today we're going to talk about validation in a relationship. But I also feel like I want to acknowledge how amazing it feels to sit here and do this podcast with you after a 3-hour intimacy date.
It's pretty squishy.
Like, it's probably not on topic with validation, but we really advocate for couples to be taking time, solid amount of time, like once a week, an intimacy date. And that's, would you say, a minimum 60 minutes? Like, that goes fast, but
Yeah.
it's like once a week coming together.
With the intention of like not having any outcome, without just like, it doesn't have to look a certain way or be a certain way, but the intention is quality time together in the exploration with each other. I think it's really important.
So what we did this morning, there was no, I was like, I'm going to make a nest.
Yeah.
I'm going to make a nest outside for us. Like, you lie here while I'll get some things. And I just set up some yoga mats, some blankets and pillows. We had cacao.
Yeah,
and then we just sat up and talked. We had some like really cute chats and got a little closer and a little closer. And then suddenly we were in the massage.
Yab yum happened.
Yab yum.
And that's always a bit of a hack.
It really is.
For energy and for closeness. And then it was what I love, and I think, I'd invite more men to do it, is like really talk your woman into her body, which is what I was encouraging.
Can you give an example of what you say?
It's just like, I notice your body start to activate, so I guide you more into your body by talking about like you squeezing, or you like,
yes.
Letting your spine roll, or, closing your eyes, or whatever it might be, like noticing your mouth or whatever.
I find it really, really, really helpful. Like, having had such a poor experience of intimacy my whole life and being very heady, having you just have the really gentle invitation to like drop into your pussy or your womb, or you feel your belly, or just, it really helps me be in presence.
And it goes into, I guess, that part of a lot of us that really enjoy like guided meditation. And in a way it's like guiding you into pleasure with words without even touch. So that's like, there's a lot of anticipation around that as well, and it builds for that. And then it was easy. I just, threw a pillow down and laid you down, and then it was oil, and then, one thing led to another, and it's really yum.
And it was just still very quite subtle and energetic and zero pressure, really just, giving the body time to just be such a yes. And now sitting here doing a podcast, I'm like, I just melt a little further down. It just feels real smushy and good. And I just hope couples are taking the time to have these intimate moments, because I know busynesses, kids, work, all the things seem to get in the way, but you have to fill this cup first, because then all the other areas, your kids, your work, everything feels better. It goes smoother. There's more flow. So when couples tell me they have no time, it's like they need it the most.
Yeah, and the couples that don't have the time probably don't know what to do with the time that they do have.
Right.
I think that's actually what I totally get. We can be busy, but I really know that it's not knowing what to do with the time. So it's, or
doing what you know, which feels quite routine and autopilot also. So it's like there's not that much anticipation to come and do what we always do.
Yeah, no, don't want to do that. Yeah.
Well, I think that's a beautiful part of the work that we do, because I know for myself, when I had so many intimacy blocks, I needed the guidance. I needed someone to kind of hold my hand and say, here is I wanted step 1, 2, 3, and I found it really helpful.
Yeah. It feels really good to be helping couples with this, and not only with what we do with couples in private, but also just like what we talk about. Like today, it's just like this piece around validation and being seen and being on the same team with each other. It's just like it snowballs, it compounds, like couples that are regularly having intimacy and in the pleasure with each other and creating a vortex with each other. So much easier to validate from that place of like, geez, you just looked after me, and vice versa. Yeah.
How can I validate you more?
That was your words this morning.
No, I heard them come out. I'm like, did I just call him a god? That's so cheesy. It felt like it. But I think, like you're saying, like intimacy is the flow-on effect from couples who know how to communicate and they know how to validate each other. Like, we can even share the example. We went to do our podcast yesterday, but we were in conflict.
Yeah.
We were in conflict, and it took us being able to manage that conflict in a way that was really validating and acknowledging. And now we've had beautiful intimacy. It's like, we've come back into repair, and it feels even better. It feels like we've actually created clarity from our conflict. So validation is a huge part of how couples can take the inevitable conflict and create deeper intimacy. And like the reason people fight is because they're invalidating each other. That is really the only reason why conflict becomes an argument, because we've got two people who are you versus me, right versus wrong, and it falls down.
Yeah, and I think in that often I think there's other ways we can argue, which is like broken agreements.
Yes.
But typically when we break an agreement, a lot of the time when it's unintentional, we fight because we aren't actually fighting about the same thing. Or we're not bringing our point, we're not actually on the same point that we're having conflict over. Like the other day I really got, for me in a conflict with you and I, it's that I'm actually invalidating your experience because I'm bringing my point, which is not your point. And so our 2 points aren't being validated properly. And that I feel like is one of the ways that we can fall down. So, as a hack for couples, it's, can I really listen in and hear what the other is talking about and validate that, so at least we can get on the same page, Because
that's the thing, like validating, like for example, our conflict was I thought we hadn't had a conversation and you thought we had.
Yes.
But by both of us being so certain, we're actually invalidating the other person's experience. And so I still stand by, I don't believe we had this conversation. But what I can acknowledge is that I can't be certain about that because you're pretty certain that we did, right? So it's like
I know we did.
But the thing is, I have the understanding that it's not about right and wrong because we have two different models of the world. We are having two different experiences. Fighting to be right is a lose-lose. It's like, just because I get to say to you, I can totally understand why you would be frustrated if you think we've had this conversation already. I get that is frustrating, so I understand that you feel that way. That's not me saying, oh, you're right, or me agreeing, but it's me acknowledging that's your experience.
Yeah.
And I so get that would be frustrating.
Mm-hmm. And likewise, it's like, if we haven't had that, it's no wonder you're feeling uncomfortable a lot of the time when this conversation comes up.
And confused.
It's like creates lots of confusion, and it's like, it makes a lot of sense. So it's like, regardless, let's have the conversation, and let's move forward on this. I would much rather create an agreement that we're both really happy with than being right.
That's
right
the thing.
Just doesn't.
Like the stuckness for couples comes in the fighting for your point, fighting for where you're at. Like, I need you to see what I see. I need you to understand. Like, yes, we want to be acknowledged, but we don't actually need our partner to be like, you are right. It's like, we're just having two different experiences, and there'll never be a right or a wrong, really.
Well, it's an empty win because, like, say, for example, you finally come to your senses and agree to the conversations that we definitely had. And it's like...
You can tell we had intimacy for hours this morning. It's just so light.
And it just like... And then what? And then we still need to set something up powerfully anyway. So, this part of it is like why we're having this conversation today around validation is trying to fight to be right is fucking pointless compared to when we're with our partner. How can I just, in this moment, validate your experience such that it's then we have some connection? Because typically what we're missing is we fight because we're not being connected with somehow. We
feel unseen, we feel unmet, we feel dismissed,
Yeah, so it's like, how can we create this win? I spoke about it in men's group and I kind of made it up on the spot, but it's that whole thing of like vulnerability plus validation equals the big W.
If you can see what Lindsay's doing, he's got the V for vulnerability, the V for validation,
yeah.
And together they make the W.
Yeah, which is the win. Like, you want to win in relationship, do those things. And often at times it's like, rather than being vulnerable, I'm going to fight to win.
Or defend.
Yes.
And that's our unconscious parts coming out that really, like, we're all just always trying to create safety for ourselves and certainty. But what that can look like when we're operating quite unconsciously is like, I'm going to defend my stance. That is what I have to do to create safety. And that blocks us from being able to be vulnerable, which then blocks us from connecting to our partner. And what I loved is you sent me that reel recently, and it was this guy speaking into how when your partner is triggered and they're bringing you their experience, if I'm invalidating you, that's not how it went, that's not what happened, this is what happened. I'm actually throwing you facts while you're drowning, you know? And validation, I see you, I hear you, I understand. That's me throwing you the life jacket.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, we're not saying that you have to agree. We're not saying either of you are right, but it's like validation. Well, invalidation actually damages the intimacy and the trust and the safety of relationship.
Totally. And, you know, I've said this so often to men in men's work is like, not pretty much the ultimate betrayal or the ultimate hurt is when you're being vulnerable with somebody and they attack you. It's like, oh, it hurts. Like, you're already so open and then you get further attacked. It's like, oh, it doubly hurts. It's like it really clamps, and I know in my case, it like clamps me shut. So it's like keeping my heart open and being vulnerable to share. And then like yesterday, when you completely just like validated me in that moment, I could let it in, and I just felt that, like, that softening. And, you know, for me, I was in a lot of collapse and a bit of disassociation, and I couldn't actually have the conversation at the time. And I think that's the other thing, where you were just like, you know what, maybe you do just need to have a rest. And I did. I slept for like 3 or 4 hours. So it's like I must have needed it. My body was just really like done for the day as well. So it's like knowing too, when we come into conflict with each other, or we're in that trigger perhaps, it's like, what do we actually need to do? Like, is now the right time? Or can we just validate each other to the point of like, okay, there's something that needs to happen here, even if it's not now. But it's like we got ourselves back to a place of like, okay, we're safe with each other again. I think that's important.
Yeah, and like, I really have compassion for how difficult it can feel in the moment, you know, when we are triggered. And we've spoken excessively about self-revealing on the podcast already, and that's when you bring your trigger to your partner, but you reveal it in a way that has lots of ownership and responsibility. And then if we were to bring validation into this, like if you're the partner that's hearing your partner share their trigger, say like you bring me your trigger and you ask me, can I self-reveal? And I've checked in. Yep, I've got the energy, I have the time. I say yes, I can hold space. It is my job to know that what you're about to share could potentially be triggering. It probably is, but I've just said I can hold space for you. So I'm not now to sit in my head and think about all the way you're wrong, what you're sharing is wrong, or how I'm going to rebut, or like how I'm going to defend what I'm saying. It's like I have to have this level of emptiness between my ears so I can be curious and be like, I'm not taking this personally. Whatever he's going to share right now, even if it's about me, I'm not going to take this personally, because I'm going to hold space. And then when you've shared, I'm going to validate your experience.
By speaking it back, usually it's like active listening. By
reflecting back, what I've heard you say is this. What I've heard is this. Is that correct? And then that lets something inside of you settle. I've contacted something. And so we both get to, all right, we're on the same page. And what I know for myself, like if I'm triggered, if you just validate the experience I'm having and acknowledge it, there's nowhere for it to escalate.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, oh, okay, seen, met. Whereas if you invalidate me, then we're in the cycle of like tit for tat, like it's like we're in attack, we're throwing grenades at each other. But like to validate, it's like, well, I'm upset about this. And you're like, I see that, babe. I'm like, okay. It simmers it down. So it's really about, what's it about? What's the tangible tools here?
Well, it's the active listening back. Like, you know, like you said, when someone self-reveals, how can I listen with curiosity?
Not take it personally, not make it about me, even when it's about me.
Yeah, and then you know, speak it back, make sure that we're right with it, and then that person then can be seen, felt, heard, validated, all those things, and then, you know, then it gets to be a request, you know, then it gets to be something else. Or
what I need is
yeah,
what I'm looking for.
And sometimes it's just to be heard, just to actually bring that little piece of vulnerability to your partner and just be like, thank you so much for validating that. Like, it just feels so good. It's like, yeah, babe, we got it.
Well, what I know for myself, like in the past, lots of triggers around like insecurity, feel jealous, feel insecure, and like it's really vulnerable for me to share that. It's like a part of me feels terrified that you're going to leave me, or I feel terrified that you're going to cheat on me or something like that. Like, I don't want to own that. Like, that makes me feel I have a bit of shame. But if I bring that to you and I'm vulnerably sharing, it's not that I'm asking you to fix it. I'm not, like, I don't need you to never smile at another woman again. But the minute I say, like, I'm feeling scared, like that part of me is insecure, and you're like, oh, I fucking get it. I'm like, oh, okay, I don't need you to do anything about it. I don't need you to fix it or change your behavior or anything at all. But I just needed to name it, and I needed it to be heard with compassion. And that is how we actually use relationship for the deepest healing.
Which is essentially co-regulation as well.
Yes.
It's like a version of co-regulation of just the other person can see me, hear me, understand me, and my needs can be met.
It's attunement.
Yeah.
And like when we're little, one of the ways we get to develop into a secure human is having our primary caregiver attuned to our emotions. And if we didn't have that as a child, then as an adult, we get to heal that by doing it with our partner, having our partner attuned to our needs. Again, not to say that we're right, not to buy into our dysregulation, but just to be like, I really see you right now, and it's welcome.
Yeah, like when I bring my dysregulation, it's accepted. Or it's at least acknowledged. My needs can be met, because I know for a lot of people, they have the belief that my needs aren't valid, my needs can't be met, or they haven't been met in the past, so I can't expect that of my partner. I've got to do it myself.
But then the trap is, it's like, well, I have to just deal with this myself. It just comes out sideways, comes out passive aggressive. You have one glass of wine and the lid flies off, you can't even get it back. It's like we keep stuff in because it's like, oh, this is what I've learned to do.
Yeah.
And it still damages the relationship because all the unspoken words can just be felt, and resentment is building up, and we've got water under the bridge, and like then there's no way we're going to have a 3-hour intimacy date.
No way, not with my enemy.
That's the thing, I can't actually even contact you because all I can see is my hurt and scared and frustration. I'm not actually seeing you, I'm not in presence with you, I'm just in relationship with my mad.
Yeah.
So that's why cleaning the glass, self-revealing, and then validation is the other side of it.
Big stuff.
And it's so rewarding, and like with all the stuff we teach and share, it's a practice. You will fall down, yes. Will you self-reveal perfectly, and will your partner drop the ball sometimes? Yes, it's like all of this, it's a practice. And then when you nail it,
Compounds.
it does. You can start to build evidence that you can do it. Like my thing in relationship was I could not repair. I am not going to initiate repair. I'm not going to receive repair. I'm just not repairing because I'm mad. And I now have the evidence. When I do it, it's like I feel like it's a dopamine hit of just like, oh, I'm an adult and it felt good and we win together. And so even though you're still the number one repairer, I'm doing a better job because I have the evidence that I can.
Yes.
So it's getting easier.
Yeah, you're so improved in it.
The most improved.
Yeah, and it's like, and it gets to be a skill that's developed in relationship. Like it can be done. You don't need to be single or go away and fix yourself so then you can be valid for a relationship. It's quite possible to do it in a relationship.
I honestly just feel like that's the biggest bullshit, that it's like I have to be single and I'll do my work, and then like there is some merit in like doing your self-development single, but your stuff will come up in relationship because you need somebody else to hit up against to see it. Like I've done that. I've done so much self-development, and when I'm single, I am a cucumber. I am super cool, calm and collected, and then I get into a relationship and it's like, hello.
So all the
hello.
stuff's there.
And I actually get to access even more of my stuff in a secure relationship because the conditions of safety are here. So we're not fighting about surface level bullshit anymore. It's like, I get to contact the deep grief I feel around my dad that I didn't even know was there because we're not fighting about whatever I used to fight about with partners, you know.
Yeah.
So, it's so good. Thank you for being in this practice with me.
I love it, and I really encourage, if you're listening to this and it's something that you're yearning for in your own relationship, is this ability to be vulnerable with each other and to repair with each other and to create curiosity and fascination with each other, is to like reach out. Like, we work with couples. Yeah, we would love to work with you, work with your partner, and get you guys on the same team and have amazing intimacy, amazing communication.
Your 3-hour sex date is not as far away as you think it is.
Just we have evidence for the couples that have worked with us that they just like, it really takes their relationship to a whole new level that they thought wasn't possible. Like, people that have great relationships, it gets to be even better.
That's the thing. It's like, it's not about just having a good relationship. Like, why would we settle for good? Why would we settle for like, we're good parents, we're good teammates? It's like, it actually gets to be a highlight of your life, like the most joyous, ecstatic, transformative experience, if you want it to be.
Yeah.
It just takes two people that are willing to lean in.
Yeah, that personal development of each individual.
Internal work, relational skills, authentic intimacy. That's how I kind of see the 3 pillars of self-development, the trifecta.
Yeah. So?
You should speak into your masterclass. You have something coming up, don't you, for men?
Yeah, so in a couple of weeks, I think it's the end of May, so the 27th, the last Monday of the month, Monday masterclass for men, the Lighthouse.
The Lighthouse.
So that kind of dropped in for me in the last week, as far as like being the masculine man, being the pillar, being the strength, being the guide for his family, for his community. And to me, it's about, being a lighthouse. It's not that you necessarily want others to be like you. It's just guiding the way, shining the light. And I don't want to give too much away, other than if it's something in your life that you want to show up more and be more of who you are and be grounded in that and solid in that, no matter what the ocean is doing around you, what the feminine is doing around you.
I'm the ocean. Lindsay is the stable headland.
Yeah,
the lighthouse.
so that to me is something that, I spoke about in another masterclass about holding the masculine frame, and that's definitely what this masterclass is about, an even deeper dive into that work and the dance in the polarity of that. So if you're open and interested in that, masterclass is coming and we would love to have you there.
You can find us Embodied Union Instagram. I am Charlie S. Hannah Instagram.
Lindsay B on Instagram.
And then through the podcast, you know where to find us by now. So thank you for listening. Put this into practice. Enjoy your intimacy. And thank you, my love.
Love you, critter.